Hello, thank you for joining me tonight on this brand new series we're going to run on footballmanagercentral.com. We'll be interviewing owners or admins on other fan sites, hashtag FM Fansite on Twitter. Tonight we have Guido from Strikerless.com. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Paul.
No problem, I was delighted to make you the first one we interviewed and fantastic to get you on talking terms.
When someone like you asks me, I'm happy to oblige and help the community.
Fantastic, good to hear. Well, I've got 8 questions for you, very simple, just a little quick interview which people can listen to on their lunch. So question 1, when did you start playing Football Manager or Championship Manager?
Let's see, that must be... I've played for over a decade. I think the first game I bought was Championship Manager 2, which I fished out of a bargain bin at a local toy store. My brother and I bought it, we started playing, and we pretty much bought every installment of the game ever since.
It's fantastic news. It's good. That's interesting how you came across it, just kind of fishing it out of a bargain bin.
Yeah, we used to play FIFA on the computer, and we figured this might be like FIFA. It totally wasn't, but we were hooked either way. We used to watch Match of the Day on the BBC and Sportschau on the German telly, so we had some knowledge of the foreign leagues. And well, I can safely say that playing Championship Manager and Football Manager greatly expanded my knowledge of the foreign football leagues.
Fantastic. That is actually really interesting. I bet a lot of people get Football Manager or Championship Manager in the expectation of it being similar to FIFA, like you said.
Yeah, well, it turned out we weren't able to directly influence the players' movements, but we enjoyed the whole buying players, selling players, making tactics, because at the time we started playing was the time that for us Dutch people, Ajax had a great team. They were having great success in Europe. They had won the UEFA Cup a few seasons prior. They had Van Gaal building a wonder team that would go on to conquer Europe. So yeah, those were exciting times, and we could try to rival those achievements. And besides that, people tend to forget PSV Eindhoven had a young Ronaldo back in the day. So yeah, each team in the league had one or two flair players that made it interesting to play with them. Yeah, great times.
Yeah, great time to be a Dutchman. Well, the second question kind of falls into that. What made you start playing Football Manager? And I assume it's because you thought it was a management game like FIFA.
That was what I initially thought, but yeah, they were just interesting times to start playing. And initially we just messed around. Tactics were a mess back then. You had the with and without ball screen, so for every phase of play, you had to manually drag players to the positions you wanted them to maintain during that phase of play. So we just messed around. It was more about buying players, selling players, but great fun anyway. The game was a lot simpler then. There were less buttons to click, less features to use. It was just click, drag, play, and the tactics were simpler. I wouldn't say easier, but they were simpler. There were less options available to you, so less chance you would cock it up.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, yeah, in the olden days, how old do I sound? In the olden days, you could, like you said, there was less options for mistakes also, so it was either success or fail, basically.
Exactly, but you mentioned the older days. You're not that much older than I am.
Oh, thanks for making me feel a bit better. I'm not that much older. Fantastic.
No, I think you're about my age, right?
I'm 28.
Mate, I'm older than you are.
Oh, there you go. I'm not as old as you. Anyone listening, I'm still a spring chicken.
I didn't say that, but yeah, sure.
But we're going to go on to question number 3, which is really interesting. This one I really look forward to asking is, how did you start out in the FM community? So expand from sitting on your own playing Football Manager or Championship Manager with your brother to actually going online and finding people.
Okay, I guess I started out by just, like most of us do, by taking a piece of paper and scribbling names down on those papers, scribbling down formations, just drawing in the sideline of, say, your math book or whatever piece of paper you can find. And well, after a while, I found out some guys at school played the same game, so you started exchanging lists of players you had scouted and tactics you had invented. But well, most of the guys at school weren't into the game as much as I was, so
Yeah.
I started looking for other outlets to share, which made me discover the English communities. There weren't any Dutch communities at the time, so I had to teach myself English and to try and be able to communicate with those people.
So
I started out with just scouting players, making lists of like the best Dutch talents, the best Belgian talents, the best Swedish talents. After a while, I just moved on to other topics because I'd learned more about them and felt like I could share.
I think you would have been an asset in the early days, having a person on the forums, for example, who was from Holland. You would find yourself getting messaged asking, can you recommend any talents, I bet.
And that did happen at times, yes. And I've been on many forums during my time in the community, which I think is 15 or 16 years by now.
Wow, that's I think mine's about 9 years. Is there any which stand out? Any places which made you feel like you were getting to be part of the community?
Well, I've been still am a part of the dugout,
Okay.
despite the place being flat on its arse right now. But yeah, I personally know the owner. I've actually been to his wedding. He invited us.
Right.
Me and 2 or 3 other guys from the forums were invited to come to his wedding. So yeah, it's still home despite the fact that the forums are pretty much dead now.
Fantastic. Well, it's good that obviously in the past you've got to know the people as well. I think forums are struggling at the minute, but hopefully they can come back because there's been some fantastic ones out there. I know it's not just for Football Manager, but NeoSeeker is where I started in the community. It's a fantastic forum. I'd recommend to anybody.
Yeah, I guess forums are dying because of the climate for internet interaction has shifted.
Yeah.
It has shifted from long text to quick images and quick responses. I think media like Twitter and Facebook aren't created and designed to have long, elaborate text on them. They're just short messages with a few images attached to them, and bam, move on.
Exactly, yeah. But we'll go on to question number 4, which is what would you like to see in future Football Manager games to make the game better, but also just to expand on that, but better for the FM community and its fan sites?
What will I like to see? The J League.
The J League.
Bring back Japan. I had some good saves there, and I know they can't bring back Japan because of licensing issues, but bring back the J League, or at least get someone to make an unofficial database, or if there's anyone out there with any knowledge of the Japanese leagues, and you have the time and energy to make an unofficial Japanese database, please do. I'd download it, I'd play it.
I will see what I can find for you. I can make the J League, but I can't make all the players. I'm sorry.
I know people have made a J League,
Yeah.
but yeah, you lack the players, and for instance, now that Diego Forlan has moved to Japan, he's vanished from the game, which is a shame.
Yeah. No doubt there is one out there. There's I think there's a Chinese football managers groups. I'll try again. There's a Chinese football manager Twitter page following me, so I'll drop them a tweet. Maybe they have made the Japanese one.
You do realize that China and Japan.
Look, I'm not stereotyping and saying they're all close to each other.
Yeah, just to be on the safe side.
Yes, I'm just saying. For example, we live in Europe, so we make all the European leagues. So Asian people might make other Asian leagues.
Yeah, it would be cool if just for the top tier to be complete.
Yeah, I think I dug myself out of that one quite well.
Good try.
Thanks. We'll quickly move on from that. Question number 5. No. Possibly. Yes, question number 5. What has been your favourite Football Manager save to date? Have I asked that?
No, you haven't actually.
Okay.
My favourite save to date, I think it was FM 11 or FM 12. I'd had a save in India, and it spanned over 5 decades in total.
Fantastic.
And
wow.
I'd actually started out with just a club side. I'd made East Bengal. I'd made them the richest team in the world. I'd actually be able to win the Club World Cup a few times. After that, I got bored with that club and took on a new side, the New Delhi Heroes.
Okay.
And tried to topple my own legacy, which worked after 5 or 6 years. And after that, I took on the India national side, and it took me 3 or 4 goes, but I actually won the World Cup with India in 2054 or 56 or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty much an epic game, but it was fun to play because the league season was really short. It was 22 or 24 league games a season, plus some cup games and the international games, but all in all, maybe 40 games for an entire season. Compare that to your average English season, where if you actually progress in the cups, you have to play over 80 games.
Yes, definitely does make it a lot quicker. I think Iceland is a good example of that. I think that's only 22, 23 games for the league.
Exactly. It's short, it's sweet, it's fun. Especially when the league rules are in your favor.
Yeah. I think before we move on from that question, I just want to mention some of your Dutch adventures. You've had a couple of fantastic ones there. I thought you would have mentioned one of them.
Yeah, they were good fun as well, but because I was blogging about them at the time as well, or at least trying to describe the tactical innovations I stumbled across, they were slower, more methodical. The India game wasn't about tactical innovation. It was just click and play. It was fun. It was just fast-paced. I could go through a season a day if I had the time to carry on. During my break from school, I'd finish 7 or 8 seasons in a week.
Yeah.
The adventures in Holland were fun as well, but it took me more time to get through a season because you wanted to document everything for people reading it, and sometimes I wouldn't play actively for 2 or 3 days just to get some blog posts ready about it.
Yeah, I know that feeling. There is points where no doubt you think the same. You just want to have a save where you just click and play, like you said. Do you have one of them at the moment?
Yeah, I play in a couple of succession saves for that purpose. It means I play 6 months and pass the game along to someone else to continue with it. It's a group of 5 or 6 guys playing a save in Cyprus with Anorthosis Famagusta.
Yeah.
Each one of us plays 6 months and passes the game along to the next guy in the sequence, and it's good fun as well. Last time I played, I managed to get out of the Champions League group stage, beating FC Bayern AC Milan and Liverpool, and winning the group actually with 2 wins and 4 draws. So yeah, it was a good. It's a good fun game. It's one where I don't have to stop every time to think about what I'm doing. It's just click and play, sign a few guys, click and play.
Fantastic. That sounds interesting, definitely. And it is, like you say, good just to click and play.
Yeah, just short, sweet, and simple.
But we will go on to question 6 now, which is about your FM Fansite, Strikerless.com. And the question is, what content do you like to make for your own FM fansite? Now, I'm sure 90% will guess from the title, but for people who are unfamiliar, do you want to enlighten them of what content you like to make?
Well, despite the title being Strikerless, it's not all about tactics. It is about strategies to play the game. Some of them involve tactical ideas, but there's also ways you can manipulate the transfer market, or how you can set up a more effective scouting system. So it's not story based like like some other blogs are. I don't go into great detail about which player I have signed. It's more about the underlying thought. Why have I signed this particular player? Which roles is he supposed to play? How have I scouted him? How can I ensure I get him as cheap as possible? If I find 3 or 4 players like him, which one would suit my system best, and why would this particular player suit the system best? How can I get them cheapest? Why are, for instance, South American players less suited for my style compared to Scandinavian players? Stuff like that. It's more of a general gameplay / strategy guide, and not a story-based side.
I think I'm going to actually say that I would not be surprised if people don't type in your web address after hearing that, because I actually want to go on now and read some more. That was a fantastic explanation of what you like to do on your site, and I think we'd tell everybody to check it out, because it is an amazing site. I can get lost for hours. I think it was a couple of weeks ago I actually tweeted about it, because I'd gone on to read one post, the set piece guide you did from a long time ago, which we released the exact same type of post at the exact same time. I went on just to have a read of yours again, because I was struggling personally in a save at that time, and I thought, I don't want to check my own guide out, I want to get some advice off yourself. And I ended up spending about 3 hours on and off whilst pottering around the house, just reading through your website. You can get lost in it for hours, which is it's a credit, because it means you're doing something right, which I think is a good thing, obviously.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks.
It's no problem. But now we're going to go on to question number 7. How do you think FM Fansites as a whole can grow in the future?
It will be difficult for them, I guess. There are more and more blogs popping up every day, and you have to be very careful that it's not carbon copies of each other, that you have to have unique and distinguishing feats, because if every site offers the same kind of content, people are not going to form a community, but just find whatever they're looking for and just move along without coming back, because there are others who offer the same type of information. I think that could be an issue, people not being innovative and offering new ideas. Fortunately, there are always people who are trying new things, but a lot of the new blogs I see, they just focus on a manager playing with a team and which signings he makes, and that's it. That can be interesting, but it has to be a compelling story and move along over 5, 6, 7, 8 or more seasons. But most of those blogs, they post 1, 2, maybe 3 times, and stop updating. It's well, not working that way. If I had to say what's the future, I am going to come back and say YouTube movies are the future. People are less and less interested in reading long lines of text and more interested in videos and images with some commentary from the author underneath. 5, 6, 7 minutes, something they can they can watch on their mobile phones or tablets as well when they have some spare time, and not something they have to sit through. If you know what I mean. Long text can take a lot of time to read, and sometimes the vocabulary is that complicated that people have to read it 2 or 3 times to actually get the message, whereas a simple video can do all that with the pictures that make it more clear in 5 or 6 minutes. So yeah, I think that's the future.
Yeah, that's I think you've hit the nail on the head in the terms of the long text. I do find you can find the middle point, and I think on Strikerless.com you do it quite often, where you will have a video showing the reader the situation you're explaining, and then below that you will have the description. But as you say, the key is not to have them reading for 5 minutes, watch a 2-second video, then read for 10 minutes. It's kind of getting the blend.
That's my educational background kicking in. My professor always taught us, if you have to teach a class, don't make them read a lot, but mix it up with examples from reality as well. Because if it's just in theory, people won't understand what you're trying to say. If you have real life examples to show them, it makes it more interesting. If they can mix it up, not just read but visualize it as well, it makes for a more stronger and compelling message.
Indeed. Very well put. We are now on the final question 8, and it's how does your fan site in the future and now, how are you planning on developing the fan site to stay, in my opinion, among the top in the FM community?
Well, what I hope to achieve is to go back to the schedule I used to have, 1 update a week.
Okay.
It's hard because it's generally just me, and well, I'm swamped at work, so that makes it more difficult. Plus, all the big issues, all the big topics are things I covered in the past. So for me, it's just finding new sources of inspiration to keep writing about. I'm also trying to find people who can write guest pieces for me. I actually found one last year, Jonathan Aspie. He wrote 5 or 6 pieces for Strikerless, and I encouraged him to start his own weblog after that, because he is that good and he does deserve his own place. But yeah, I try to take aspiring young bloggers under my wing and give them a platform to start writing on for the first time. If you have a blog with no readers, it's very discouraging initially, and for an aspiring writer to come to an established blog with, well, I think I get about 1,000 views every day, which isn't a lot, but it's still substantial. The new writers can get clicks off that, can get validation off that, can get tips off that, can get motivation out of that, and well, if they really like writing, they can take their first steps on Strikerless and just move along when they feel they're ready for it. So yeah, that's the second direction I want to expand in. Maybe try and help others develop.
That's a fantastic idea, and as you said, there's a lot of small blogs coming up at the minute, and a lot of them people, I think, if if they know of the option to write, especially on an FM Fansite, I strongly urge them to turn away from the idea of setting their own up, and just kind of jumping on the pile with the other 10,000 and join a recognised fan site and build and learn from somebody who knows how to do it.
Exactly, build up an audience before you move on to your own blog.
Yeah,
If I had to do it over, I think I'd start out with
FM Central.
FM Central or an established site first and build my audience first, because the first 5 or 6 months I blogged, I got maybe 100 guests a day, which was peanuts. I was helped by guys like FM Analysis and Trunaldo who helped me expand my audience by retweeting my articles and helping me by giving me shout-outs and attention, and that's what I'm trying to do for others now as well. What goes around comes around, so if others help you, I feel you have the obligation to do the same when you have moved on for the new group coming up.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's really good that I'm not going to say us older people, but the people who've been around since the 90s playing Football Manager, and we've built up the knowledge of the game. We've learned things through the years. We want to help people, especially there's a lot of younger people who are in their teens and maybe just leaving school, and some of them are really talented writers, and they just need sometimes, as you say, the platform to be given a chance and to be trusted to do something. I mean, a prime example is Jake on our Facebook group. He came from just helping the odd little bit, and he's now really key in everything we do. He's a fantastic guy who always helps out, and I just think people need a platform, a chance to grow.
Exactly, and if you have to do everything yourself, you're going to make mistakes, which can be really discouraging. If there's a team behind you, they can back you up, they can tell you, listen, you should reevaluate what you're doing. This isn't bad, but you can make it a whole lot better by doing this or this. And well, sometimes the younger guard needs a bit of patience in that case. But yeah, overall speaking, it's good to start out with an established site. It can really help you improve.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think we'll end it there. And what I want to do is obviously remind everybody it's strikerless.com. And just say that I've really enjoyed this. I've had a chance to learn a bit more about yourself, and really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to come and chat.
No worries. I was honored. I was the first on your list.
Oh, there was only one I could ask. It had to be you first. One of our long-term friend in the FM community.
As I said, when you help others, others will help you. So no worries.
Indeed, and we will thank you for this and see you again soon.
Definitely.